A few days ago, something happened in Burkina Faso that has already started making noise across Africa and even beyond. President Ibrahim Traoré officially opened a brand new world-class football stadium. It was a moment many people had been waiting for, and it was more than just a ribbon-cutting event. This was a statement, a clear message that Burkina Faso is ready to step onto the global football map with pride and confidence. This stadium had been in the works for a long time. Planning, designing, building, and preparing it took a lot of effort and resources. There were challenges along the way, from funding to construction timelines, but the goal never changed, to give the country a stadium that could compete with the best in the world. Now that it is finally complete, it stands as a symbol of ambition, determination, and the belief that Africa can create infrastructure that matches global standards. When Ibrahim Traoré walked into the stadium for the opening, it wasn't just about football. It was about national pride. Burkina Faso, like many other African countries, has a deep love for the game. Football is not just a sport here, it's a language everyone speaks, it's a passion that brings communities together, and it's a dream for millions of young people who grow up kicking a ball in dusty streets. For years, the country's national team and local clubs have been playing in stadiums that often didn't meet the highest international standards. That meant missing out on hosting certain big games, and sometimes even having to play important matches outside their home turf. This new stadium changes that completely. Ibrahim Traoré knew the impact this project would have from the very beginning. Building a stadium like this is not a small decision. It takes vision to believe that such an investment can transform more than just sports. For the president, this was about showing that Burkina Faso can rise above challenges and deliver something world-class. It was about proving that African countries can create facilities that don't just meet the basic requirements but actually set new benchmarks. This opening marks a shift in thinking. For many years, the narrative around African football infrastructure has been negative: poor maintenance, outdated facilities, and lack of resources. Now, with this stadium, Burkina Faso has flipped that narrative. It has shown that with the right leadership and focus, even a country that is still developing in many areas can build something that grabs global attention. But the opening wasn't just for show. This stadium is fully equipped and ready to host both local and international matches. It can welcome top African tournaments, World Cup qualifiers, and even friendlies against major teams from Europe, South America, or Asia. It sends a strong signal to football governing bodies like CAF and FIFA: Burkina Faso is ready to be taken seriously as a host for big events. Ibrahim Traoré's decision to push this project forward also reflects his understanding of how sports, especially football, can unite a nation. In a world where politics often divides people, football brings them together. On the day of the opening, the focus wasn't on political differences or everyday struggles, it was on a shared victory. This was something every citizen could celebrate, no matter where they come from or who they support politically. The stadium also represents opportunity. It's not just about the games that will be played there. It's about the doors that will now open for young players, coaches, and even small businesses. Players will get to experience playing on a pitch that meets the same quality as those in England, Spain, or Germany. Coaches will have the right facilities to train their teams to higher standards. Vendors and entrepreneurs will benefit from the economic activity around the stadium during match days and events. This achievement also speaks to a broader ambition, positioning Burkina Faso as a key player in African sports. Many African countries dream of hosting major tournaments like the Africa Cup of Nations or even being part of a World Cup hosting team. But without the right facilities, those dreams remain just that, dreams. With this stadium, Burkina Faso has just taken a major step toward making them a reality. Ibrahim Traoré's approach to the project was also different from the usual political announcements that often end up being empty promises. From the moment the plan was made public, there was consistent progress. Updates came regularly, deadlines were met, and quality was not compromised. This has created a sense of trust among the people, a belief that when the leadership says something will be done, it actually gets done. That trust is valuable because it strengthens the connection between the government and the citizens. In many ways, this opening is a turning point for how Burkina Faso will be seen by the rest of the world. It shows that the country is not just surviving, it's building, it's competing, and it's ready to take its place on the world stage. Football fans around the globe are already talking about the possibility of major stars one day playing here, whether for tournaments, charity matches, or pre-season tours. That kind of exposure can change the perception of a nation overnight. Ibrahim Traoré has made it clear that this stadium is just the beginning. He has spoken about using sports as a tool for development, tourism, and international partnerships. The opening of this facility sends a message to investors, sports federations, and even foreign governments. Burkina Faso is open for collaboration, and it has the infrastructure to support it. The big moment wasn't just about cutting a ribbon or giving a speech. It was about setting a new tone for the country's future in sports and beyond. For the people of Burkina Faso, it was a proud day. For Africa, it was proof that the continent can build and own world-class facilities. And for the world, it was a reminder that football's future is not limited to traditional powerhouses. New players are entering the game, and they are ready to make history. The opening of this stadium in Burkina Faso is not just a victory for one country. It's a message to the whole African continent. For many years, African football has faced a big problem, a shortage of stadiums that meet the highest international standards. This has forced many countries to host important matches in faraway places or even outside their own borders. That situation has been both frustrating and limiting for players, fans, and national football associations. Now, with this stadium in place, a new chapter is beginning. It changes the conversation. When a country like Burkina Faso builds such a high-quality facility, it inspires other African nations to aim higher. It tells them that it is possible to match what Europe, Asia, or South America have built, no matter the size of the economy or the challenges faced. For African football, this is huge. It means more games can be hosted on African soil without concerns about safety, pitch quality, or technical requirements. When CAF, the Confederation of African Football, is looking for venues for tournaments or qualifiers, Burkina Faso will now be on the shortlist. This is a shift in power and opportunity because, for too long, only a few African countries had the kind of facilities that could pass FIFA or CAF inspections without major fixes. It's not just about national teams, either. Club football in Africa stands to gain massively from this development. With a stadium like this, Burkina Faso can attract high-profile matches between African club giants and even intercontinental friendlies. This opens doors for football tourism, fans traveling from across the region just to watch big games. That movement of people means more business for hotels, restaurants, and local transport companies. Beyond the business side, the impact on players is just as important. Many African players grow up dreaming of playing in massive, world-class stadiums. In the past, that dream often meant leaving the continent for Europe or elsewhere. Now, with facilities like this, those dreams can be realized at home. Young players can grow up seeing, touching, and playing in an environment that feels no different from the ones they see on television when watching the Champions League or the World Cup. That exposure shapes ambition. It builds belief. Football is not only about the players on the pitch. It's also about the wider football ecosystem, coaches, referees, medical staff, analysts, and administrators. High-quality facilities force everyone to raise their game. If a stadium has top-class medical rooms, sports science labs, and advanced training equipment, it means African teams can prepare at the same professional level as teams in other parts of the world. This improves performance and competitiveness. For Africa as a whole, the ripple effect is real. When one country builds a stadium like this, others will feel the pressure to keep up. This is how healthy competition starts. Just as countries compete in sports, they can compete in building better facilities. That competition benefits the players, the fans, and the continent's reputation in global football. There's also the political and diplomatic side to think about. Hosting major sporting events gives a country a certain level of soft power. Leaders from other nations visit, international media cover the events, and the country's name is mentioned in positive contexts. This can open doors for trade deals, cultural exchanges, and foreign investments. In Africa's case, where negative stereotypes still exist in parts of the world, showcasing a state-of-the-art football stadium is a way to rewrite the narrative. It says, we can create excellence, and we can welcome the world here. African football has always had talent, that's not in question. Some of the world's greatest players have come from the continent. The problem has never been skill, it has been infrastructure. For too long, talented players have had to work in poor conditions, with bad pitches and limited resources. This stadium is a reminder that talent deserves a stage that matches its quality. When infrastructure catches up with skill, the results can be extraordinary. Another important effect is keeping African fans engaged locally. Many African football fans spend more time watching European leagues than their own domestic competitions. One reason for this is the difference in the quality of experience, from the pitch to the seating, to the match atmosphere. If more African stadiums are built or upgraded to this level, fans will be more willing to attend local games. This will grow the domestic leagues, create bigger sponsorship opportunities, and keep more of the football economy within Africa instead of sending it overseas through TV subscriptions and merchandise sales. The economic side is impossible to ignore. Building and maintaining a world-class stadium creates jobs. It employs engineers, builders, security staff, cleaners, event managers, and more. On match days, it creates income for vendors, taxi drivers, food sellers, and local businesses. The economic ripple extends beyond the stadium itself into the surrounding communities. For countries in Africa, where unemployment can be high, this kind of investment can make a noticeable difference in people's lives. On the continental level, having more stadiums like this makes it easier to spread big tournaments across multiple countries. For example, if Africa wants to co-host a World Cup again in the future, there will be more options for host cities. That increases bargaining power when dealing with FIFA and other organizations, as well as making it possible to negotiate better terms for African nations. Another often overlooked benefit is sports diplomacy within Africa. Countries that have good facilities can host matches for neighboring nations that might not yet have the same infrastructure. This builds goodwill and stronger regional ties. It also means that even smaller football federations can still give their players the chance to compete in proper, professional environments without having to travel halfway across the world. The psychological effect is equally powerful. Seeing a top-class stadium in Burkina Faso reminds people across Africa that excellence is possible right here, without having to import everything from abroad. It challenges the belief that only foreign countries can build to such standards. This mindset shift can inspire progress in other sectors, education, technology, healthcare, because people start to believe that if it can be done in sports, it can be done elsewhere. In the long run, the true value of this stadium for Africa will be measured not only in the matches it hosts but in the opportunities it creates. Opportunities for young players to be scouted locally instead of having to travel far. Opportunities for African coaches to train their teams in professional conditions. Opportunities for communities to grow economically around sports culture. This is why the opening of Ibrahim Traoré Stadium is more than a national story. It is an African story. It is proof that the continent can set its own standards, invest in its own future, and give its people the kind of facilities they deserve. It's a reminder that African football can stand tall in the world, not as a follower, but as a leader. The opening of this stadium has already caught the attention of people far beyond Burkina Faso's borders. Football is the most popular sport in the world, and its biggest stages have always been concentrated in a few regions, Europe, South America, and parts of Asia. Now, Africa is sending a clear message: it can build, host, and deliver the same high standards. This changes the way the world sees African football, and it also changes the opportunities that come with it. One of the first and most obvious effects is the possibility of international matches being played here. This stadium is not just for local games or African tournaments. With the right agreements, it could host friendlies between major European clubs, training camps for World Cup teams, or even neutral ground matches between nations from other continents. That kind of exposure would put Burkina Faso directly into global sports conversations. When a country is able to host top-level international events, it opens doors to partnerships that were never possible before. Sponsors from around the world look for venues that will present their brands to large, engaged audiences. If a Champions League team comes to play here, or a big-name national team holds a training camp, global media will cover it. That coverage is free advertising for the country. It shows people across the globe that Burkina Faso is safe, organized, and worth visiting. Another major effect is tourism. Football tourism is one of the fastest growing parts of the travel industry. Fans travel thousands of kilometers just to watch their favorite team or player play one match. If this stadium is used well, it can attract fans from all over Africa and beyond. That means more hotel bookings, more restaurant visits, more money spent in the local economy. Tourists who come for football often return for other reasons: cultural events, safaris, business opportunities. For African players, the impact could be life-changing. Right now, many young players leave the continent early because they believe they need to be in Europe to get noticed by scouts. But with this kind of stadium, scouts can come here. Major football agents and club representatives are more likely to attend games in person if the environment meets the professional standards they are used to. That means more African talent can be discovered without leaving their home countries too soon. This is important because it keeps young players closer to their families and communities while they develop. The presence of a world-class stadium also raises the standards for local leagues. When matches are played in a professional environment, players train harder, coaches plan better, and clubs operate more seriously. This creates a more competitive league, which in turn produces better players for the national team. Over time, this can make African teams stronger on the world stage. There is also a financial side that extends far beyond ticket sales. A modern stadium can host concerts, conferences, and other large events when it's not being used for football. That means more steady income for the facility and more jobs for the community. The more active the stadium is, the more it becomes a key part of the country's economy. From a diplomatic point of view, the stadium can be a bridge. Sports often succeed where politics fails. Countries that may not have strong political ties can still connect through football matches and tournaments. Hosting an international event means inviting other nations to visit, and that interaction can lead to new relationships in trade, education, and technology. Another major effect is on the image of Africa in general. Too often, when Africa is in global news, the focus is on problems, poverty, conflict, or disaster. A facility like this changes the story. It gives international journalists something positive to cover. It allows people outside the continent to see progress, ambition, and achievement. This doesn't just improve how others see Africa, it also boosts how Africans see themselves. Pride in achievement is a powerful motivator for future success. Ibrahim Traoré's move also challenges global football's long-standing habit of centralizing the game's biggest opportunities in a few places. By building this stadium, Burkina Faso is making a statement that top-level football can be hosted anywhere there is vision, commitment, and organization. If more African nations follow this path, the football world will have no choice but to spread its attention more evenly. There's another benefit: attracting investment from football-related industries. Sportswear companies, equipment manufacturers, and sports technology firms are always looking for new markets. A stadium of this level is a magnet for them. They want to supply kits, boots, and training gear. They want to install tracking systems, VAR technology, and digital ticketing solutions. This creates business partnerships that might not have been possible before. For the younger generation, this stadium represents something even bigger: hope. Many African youths grow up idolizing football stars from abroad. They see them play in massive arenas in London, Madrid, or Munich. Now, they can see something similar in their own country or continent. This sends a message that success doesn't always mean leaving home. It tells them that Africa can offer a stage worthy of their talent. The stadium can also play a role in keeping African football talent within Africa for longer. Many promising players leave early, sometimes to leagues that are not much better than their own local competition, simply because of facilities and exposure. If African clubs can offer both high-quality play and world-class venues, they can keep more of their best players longer, making local leagues more exciting and financially stronger. From a long-term perspective, this could also affect Africa's performance in global tournaments. When players are used to competing in high-standard environments, they are better prepared for the pressures and demands of big events like the World Cup. This is how nations close the gap with traditional football powers. It is also important to understand that the world is watching goes beyond football fans. International investors from other sectors, tourism, real estate, media, even technology, take notice when a country successfully delivers such a large-scale project. It shows that the country can manage complex operations, work to deadlines, and meet global expectations. This can lead to investment in other areas, creating a cycle of growth and development. In the bigger picture, Ibrahim Traoré's decision to push for this stadium could influence African politics itself. Other leaders may feel encouraged or even pressured to invest in similar projects in their countries. Sports have always had the power to inspire action beyond the field, and this is no different. In the end, the impact of this stadium will not be measured in one season or one tournament. It will be measured over years, in the opportunities it creates, the doors it opens, and the belief it inspires. The world is watching now, but if Burkina Faso and Africa make the most of this, the world will not just watch, it will participate. It will send teams, fans, and investments. It will treat African football with the respect it has always deserved. This is why this moment matters so much. Ibrahim Traoré didn't just open a stadium, he opened a new chapter for African football, and he invited the world to be part of it.